And final Twitter message. Woo woo! Welcome to my ball sack. All right. What the fuck? Why do I gotta do a fucking caption? Yeah, send that data. Send that data, you drug-addled fiend. Oh, we're online. Need the tab. Let's go ahead and get that shared. Oh.
And done.
Yeah.
With my dad.
And then I fucked
Hey,
my
what's
dad.
up, y'all? Microphone check.
What up, Micro?
3 in the pre-show
Going
this
on?
early. God damn. Do 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 boom bum 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 bum. My voice is shit tonight. Hold on.
Tonight.
But up it up up. Let's keep writing people's names. Because this is kind of fun.
Bob, Timmy, John.
No, don't mess me up. And of course, for another episode, Bobby Moynihan. Whoa.
What's up? Drew, I feel like I haven't heard from you in a while. What you been up to, man?
I'm fucking working so much. So tired all the time. I still am. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
More used to it.
Yeah.
He's just sinking into his final form.
Oh,
Man.
cool. You got the YouTube thing up too. Kick ass.
Yeah. He's turning into his final form. He's a man with a small penis.
I'm already at that then.
Yes.
I might not have a final form if that's the case.
I keep trying. It just keeps getting smaller. I don't know what to do about it.
Getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I go erratic here. I forget that 9 Inch Nails song now. And I don't know who to trust. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, how'd you like that? 9 Inch Nails drop. What the fuck's up? Cause you are the perfect drug, the perfect drug, the perfect drug. Sometimes I like to sing that to my kids, but I like to clean it up because, of course, I don't want it to, to be like, I'm so aroused by you that I need to sing about it. So you give the perfect hugs, the perfect hugs, the perfect hugs. I call that Christianizing devil music. I got another one. You want to hear it?
I heard that's popular. Yeah.
It is. It's kind of like the Kids Bop version, but for slow adults, not for slow kids.
right as those words came out of my mouth, that has been super popular at various times in the past,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen that much of it lately. Maybe I'm just not in the circles where I would hear it.
Well, now they rap, so they're just like they've hit their final form.
But I mean, I even went to the skating rink the other night and I didn't hear like the latest 2021 jam, like totally edited and kidsified.
Kids bopped.
Like what does that sound like now? What is the Kids Bop version of Wet Ass Pussy?
Yeah, it's the kids version of Wet Ass Pussy, followed by the Kids Bop version of what's Lil Nas X's new song?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever one.
Yeah.
If we were
Something.
conservative culture war dudes, we would know the names and lyrics of all of this shit.
Now,
Mhm.
in fairness to Lil Nas X, I 100%. It's Montero. There we go. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
took
there
me
you
a
go.
minute.
There you go.
It's just a good song. I just don't have a mental disability, so I'm allowed to admit that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the pop thing, a lot of people spend, long periods of time just mad at any pop music celebrity in general. I mean, like, I don't know if they process why they are, but, it's just one of those very loud, obvious kinds of rich people that you have to think about, like what their life is like and shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm tired. It's been a long fucking week.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what's on deck tonight? I'm going to make fun of libertarians. We're going to make fun of John for having his mother-in-law in. More like being inside his mother-in-law. Oh man. Do you guys do you guys think we should do that to him? Just be like, did you get the three-way? Did you nail it?
Oh.
Should we fuck with him and do that?
I mean, like, I don't know, like, that's one of those where, like, you're always talking about, like, the acceleration of that being, like, the hip thing, like, whoever's close by, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that now, like, I'm less inclined to do that to somebody as a joke, because then they're gonna, like, get, like, a dead-ass serious look on their face and be like, fuck.
He'll be like, yeah, I missed my chance.
How did you...
I couldn't seal the deal. I'm just asking. You know me. I ask the tough questions. So should we do that to him? Did you fuck your wife and your mother-in-law at the same time? Should we do it? I don't like that you guys aren't answering because I feel like it's a yes. That we should.
It's more like technically you are doing it right now, so
I'm raising the question of do we raise the question? Did he seal the deal?
That's what I'm saying. Question raised. You're raising it.
I'm not raising the question by deliberately pointing out.
I think that we all know John is not listening to the show when he's not on.
Yeah, he's not listening, so it's not like we're raising the question to him, giving us a unique opportunity to discuss the merits of raising the question to him. Do we, don't we, will we, won't we? What are we doing? Boys, I'm asking.
I don't know. I'll listen to the show when I'm not on it. I'll listen to the show. You might be listening to the show.
We know fully well that you do.
Yeah, you do that, and then I
and we appreciate you for it. I do want to sidebar that.
Well, I have to, whatever the podcast equivalent of is when an old person says they watch their stories. I listen to my stories. That's what I do every week.
I'm just listen. I really.
That's what we're gonna sound like when we're like in a nursing home. We're gonna be listening to like the same 5 podcasts that we listen to now and doing this podcast. And people are gonna be like, the young hip nurses are gonna be like, they're doing their stories.
They're doing their stories.
This is what was hip when they were young.
Just like if our wives are dead when that nursing home, we're doing you, ladies. That's going to be my old man voice. I'm going to purposely talk like this. I'm going to be Dan Cohen, the finger blaster.
Finger blaster, he says.
And I'll be a woman, so I'll be trans Cohen.
It's right there.
It's right there. It was Easy Fruit, which was funny because that was my nickname in the high school, Easy Fruit. I'm being bad tonight. Nobody's watching, so it doesn't matter if I'm fucking bad tonight.
I feel like there's so many, just jokes just lurking in the text of low-hanging fruit. I just feel like
so many.
It's 3 words combined.
It already sounds like a terrible sexual act too. Like,
what's that?
I gave my girl the low-hanging fruit the other day.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, people use it in a serious connotation, like at work. Like, somebody will be like, that guy deserved that promotion because he accomplished all those things, and then the other person will say, yeah, well, that's low-hanging fruit, and I'll try to nod seriously, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, ball sack, nut sack, sagging testicles, hanging testicles,
Balls.
There's no way not to. I would advise no one to use that phrase during a serious discussion.
Nobody should use the phrase low-hanging fruit.
No, it derails the whole thing. Everybody looks uncomfortable and looks away and thinks about testicles.
Yeah. They think about my massive dong.
But also hang low.
It's massive. See, the thing is, my balls definitely overshadow my penis. But, no question. 10 out of 10, that happens.
You remember that college professor or teacher that we all had, in some cases, maybe multiple times, that was obsessed with, the Greek mythology, reproductive organ, fruit metaphors, that just thought that was just going to blow your mind?
I just remember the one who used to always stand at the front of the class but make sure to put his foot on the desk and make sure his package was in the girl he likes face.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Looking back on it,
wow,
I don't think
sex with her? Who could have told? With your with your elegant hiding of the fact, nobody could discern your sexual arousal for that 19-year-old girl, you 68-year-old
so low key. So low key.
You're keeping it very, very under control. You had us all fooled. I'm
not saying that it's not an incredibly hardworking class of incredibly essential worker that, is really putting in the hours, like teachers. I'm not saying that. But looking back on the experience, I think there were probably a lot of guys that weren't, gifted educators really, that would just kind of ended up doing it.
Yeah, there was a lot of them who just wanted to see what my vagina smelled like. Joke's on them back then. It was that one was good. That one. I laugh at my own jokes. Deal with it. I don't pretend. Do I pretend to be a famous actor? No.
You could though. Which one? Pick
sexually attractive.
Pick a good famous actor to pretend to be. Be one of the Scottish ones that's good looking. Be a Ewan or an Ethan or a Euthan.
A urinary tract infection.
Euthanasian. Aren't Jews Asians? Isn't that a thing?
Well,
Euthan McGregor.
No.
Euthan Hawk.
Euthan Hawk. And now we're back to low-hanging fruit. Delicious, delicious low-hanging fruit. No.
Yep.
Well, it depends on your definition of Asian, because technically, absolutely, they're on the continent of Asia. They're Asians.
We got to get Ben Stein in on this. What conservative celebrity is it that gets out the calipers about what percentage of a woman is white and Asian? Is it Ben Stein?
I'm Ben Stein. Please show me
Ben
your
Stein,
vagina for color pattern testing. I have my swatches here. I have my race swatches. Let me just put it up there. Hold this up. Oh boy, that's Merfolk Blue. Go to hell.
Fuck.
Damn fish people.
Fucking fish again.
Fucking fish. It's always the fish.
Mm.
Oh, that riff fell. All right, time on to the next one. We got fucking 15 minutes to kill before I gotta get serious. I have a good question. I have a really good thought experiment for tonight, and I implore you to keep an open mind.
Oh God.
Oh yes.
Terrible when he starts with that before we're even on.
Yeah, this one's been rolling around my head all day. I'm not gonna say it now. We got 50. Like I said, we got about 15 minutes to kill. Why would I bust my load on that? Why would I blow my load everywhere? This is now a dick podcast.
It was so unbelievably hot down here today in November. Like this is fucked. It's over.
Yeah.
This shit is fucked.
Oh wait, hold on. No, you live in the American rainforest. Bullshit. It's that hot all the time.
I guess it is sometimes.
You're
But
cold.
usually, it's rare this late in the fall.
In the blizzard of 1994, you people, and I mean it the way you want it to be meant, you people were like, oh my God, I'm going to get the vapors. It's so freezing cold. It went down to 67 degrees. The crops are dying.
My ice cubes are melting in my mint julep.
My ice cubes are melting in my delicious
No, your
mint julep.
ice cubes are unmelting in your mint julep.
Oh Lord, they're resealing because it's cold, and I forgot the bid already. I forgot the bid. I'm getting up there in years. I have a touch of the dementia, dear. I'm trans Cohen. I'm a woman. Wouldn't that be kind of sweet if you just could meet like the right identity the identity lib who makes business cards like formally blank, treated by society as a man on them, and just hand them out. And they're like so identity driven that their lawyer is just like a guy with a learning disability whose briefcase is full of Skittles.
Like we've talked about it a lot on the show, but yeah,
that identity
it really
would rock. If
it
you are
collapsed
that
into
lib, you get 1 free hour of airtime. In fact, I will.
Yeah, please call us.
Yeah, please. We want to hear from you and just everything that you think about whimsically over the course of an hour.
like okay, like we could maybe someday do stuff in that I don't know. I find that format like intolerable because you have to like listen to them.
Yeah.
You know, like I spent so many years listening to them because it seemed like they were going to get something done.
They were never going to get anything done, and I think we all know that.
They got stuff. They got
It's literally been the complaint about them for years is that they never do anything.
Like tax credits for like people in weird situations or businesses or whatever. Like those people got something. Rich people and some selected groups of regular people. If you do all the stuff, do your paperwork and everything. Just most of us didn't get anything. And that's the thing is, it would be fun to listen to one of those guys.
Just like that's why we got to try to get Spoonie on.
That would be so dope.
Oh God, I don't know if my heart can take that.
You will be coming in your pants. Your dick won't be able to stand it.
That would be an exception. That would be like,
we're gonna break your shaft with that joy.
Because again,
I've never been one for hate fucking, but I'll give it my best go.
Yeah. Well, you better do a really good job.
Determine that to be a lie.
You better listen. You better do a really good job with your fucking fully abled ass, or she's gonna give you a 1-star rating on the fucking on the leftist sexy Yelp.
There's a leftist sexy Yelp. I should have been on this shit.
No,
it's called Yeah, there is. It's called Twitter.
It's Twitter where you can have sex with a lady boy.
No, no, I would make an exception
Don't
for
take it away from me.
listening to long liberal impulse screeds. I would make an exception if we could have that motherfucker on the show. That would be special.
150%. 1 hour, unfucking filtered.
It's not a widely known weirdo, really,
50K.
but like, I think probably is just like one chance meeting away from being like the star op-ed writer at any big paper. Like, really, if she just like happens to like meet the right, like, it's where things are
She would
going.
have to she would have to expose herself to more people out in the wild, and then that would naturally ruin everything for her.
Yeah,
Her own self
yeah.
would ruin everything.
Nope.
So
Nope. I'm getting her on the show. We're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, folks. It's gonna be so good, so juicy, so raw, sexual, and real. You're gonna love it.
Well,
You're just gonna love it. That's what's gonna
that
happen.
would be an episode that like just happens every week anyway. It would be the ableism episode.
Yeah.
So like that episode, like we do like at least 5 or 10 minutes of that episode every week. Like,
Yeah. Because it's funny.
I was gonna say what episode to have her on, but no, like she's literally could be on any episode, and it would be relevant.
Listen, if she's on, we're just gonna give her the entire episode anyway. So I don't know. You're acting like, which one should we put her on? Fuck it.
Well, no,
this
goes back to my original. This goes back to my original self-criticism of our situation, which is that like all the time that we could spend like dunking on right-wingers, if the fucking terror of the full brunt of liberalism was not constantly on display, like it soaks up
their theory
all the time during the Biden times.
Somebody's not reading their theory. The theory is that the person who is most identity vectored under liberalism while still retaining class privilege is the king of the left.
Yeah.
That is how we arrive at solidarity, which means we do whatever the most obnoxious person wants.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I need to be more obnoxious to get my way on the show. Is that what you're saying?
You need to be even more obnoxious.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm taking away from it.
That's what
it's
I heard.
It's not just the it's not just the show though. It's everything. Like, if they could maintain perfect control, that would be the only access to power or change for anybody.
Yeah.
Would be to just browbeat everyone else into accepting some kind of principle and shame them for not. It's just like the question of what level of power that shit is at on any given day, whether it's gonna move the needle or not.
And which is just objectively a cool guy thing to do.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, it's very alpha.
Yeah. So incredibly sexually powerful.
Yeah. It's a new sexual paradigm though. It's not the old way. It's a fastest Mario, if you will. Like,
it's Mario trying to finish. He's just trying to get it out there and just
I found the very fastest Mario, you guys.
It's
I
me.
found the
I'm a
I found the Mario. That's what the fastest Mario is.
It was too fast. I'm sorry. I haven't been taking my penis.
No, after I saw that post, I got so pissed off I had to find the real fastest Mario, like a real speed run. And what it is you don't actually even do like the first pump, like you don't fuck at all. Yeah. You just take your clothes off, and then instead of having intercourse, you walk toward the corner of the room, and it just glitches out, and you just
backwards.
Come instantly. Yeah, you gotta go backwards, but it just glitches out, and you just come instantly.
Oh, okay.
That's the real fastest Mario.
I'm sorry, I ruined your floor.
Did you just go try to fall off the stage?
Yeah. Thank you for letting me in the bedroom and seeing you naked, but I left a little present in the corner. I busted. It's like every Italian Catholic woman in Italy is just screaming in Italian. Oh, great! They're gonna scoop it up again and shove it up in there. That's how we're gonna have another baby. Then we got happy.
Do you think
Son
Mario
of
is?
a bitch.
Do you think
Why
Mario is
couldn't I leave this
popular?
village?
Do you think Mario is popular in Italy?
I hope.
Do you think there's an Italian localization of Mario screaming yippee and woohoo?
Yippinza! Woohooza! Il Duce! I'm so glad nobody's listening right now. And probably won't listen tonight at all.
No,
Like,
that rules.
yeah.
They'll spend the rest of their life thinking about what that sounds like in Italy if they
Well,
heard that.
The best part is, like, when I advertise the show on Twitter and shit, I'm always like, hey, we're talking about this very serious, banal topic. Like,
Well, I mean, like,
I'm in
people
the
will come
pre-show.
through.
Yeah.
People will come through for that, though. Like, if you're just in that kind of mental state, like, at some point after Trump, but before Biden, I can't even say when, like, my mind was so erased that, like, I sought out content, like, even drier than some of our driest content. Like, I sought out, like, drier stuff than I'd sought out in years, just, like, on some kind of quest
Like
for explanations.
Like explanations of thermodynamics. You're like, what if this is the key? What if this is the problem? I'm also kind of piecing apart an EDH deck, so.
Well, I was also kind of like old guys, like when I was growing up, were always like,
Hey.
finally just dug themselves a hole in some era that they liked.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of trying to go back and catch up on that. Like, maybe I just never found out what historical period I was most obsessed with. But no, apparently I can't retreat fully like those guys. Like I like most historical periods.
Things were
Most
a lot
of
better.
them.
Things were a lot fucking better in 1640. You understand me? Broads knew their fucking place. The king was making all the goddamn decisions. You
were supposed to wear a sword in public.
You were wearing a sword in public. Wolves could randomly eat you, and if they didn't eat you, you were physically more powerful than your fucking neighbor who got ganked by a pack of wolves.
And you would tell everybody not to go in the woods because it's full of wolves all the time.
They didn't have this.
A lot more wolf involvement than I realized there was.
Yeah. A lot of wolves
you tell them,
in 1640, keeping the weak down.
You tell them the woods are full of wolves, and then when you got to do anything terrible, you go to the woods. Nobody's supposed to go there.
You warn those children how to fucking behave. They're not walking around sagging their pants. The pants were sagging down because you couldn't afford a fucking tailor. It wasn't a choice.
Would have a belt made of a rope, or the tail of a giant rat from the first quest on a mystic journey.
Yeah, you killed a rat king, and you wore that as a hat until you got the plague, like God intended. You didn't have this alienation bullshit. You were in a holistic existence with the land. Capiche?
That's how I sound when I try to talk about like video games or comic books at all with like young nerds at work, because they don't give a shit.
They're like, you gotta yeet the candy corn in through the witch's ass in order to skeet and get the daily rewards, and you're like, what?
How do you do that? I don't have a yeet key.
There's no yeet key. There's no skeet button. There's no yeet key. Wait a minute. Gotta yeet it, gotta yeet it, gotta Kobe. Gotta yeet it, not a Kobe.
I really miss people doing skeet all the time.
For the skeet.
Just all the time, people were saying it. I miss that.
Oh man,
It was a golden period of history.
I can only think of that song, All That Jizz, now. You remember that song?
I think I'm thinking of a different song.
All That Jizz. It's a good song. It was on Adult Swim.
I thought it was maybe thought it was maybe a parody of like a musical theater number for a second.
No, it's just jizz. It's just about jizz. It's just
Okay, that's good because I did like, the first, minute or so of like a Chicago number or whatever thing that's from in my head just now.
Somebody didn't spend their 20s drinking and watching Adult Swim, and that shows.
I mean, I definitely did those things,
Bull.
but I mean, could I tell you whether or not they took place simultaneously or in my 20s? Like, I could, I could guesstimate.
Drew was watching Adult Swim in his teens.
Yeah.
And drinking in his 20s.
Yeah. Well, I was drinking in my teens and watching Adult Swim in my 20s, so there you go.
Like,
fair enough.
Yeah. Oh no, the philosopher has a problem with alcohol. Ah, what a surprise!
That's a really unique guilt trait.
That's never happened.
That's such a unique personality trait.
The odds were against it,
Yeah, the math says it shouldn't happen, so I'm the unicorn there. Oh, fuck. Oh, 3 minutes. Jesus Christ. Oh, I'm gonna stretch my massive shaft. See, the thing about my dick is it's like a dinner plate. It's super wide, super thick. No distance. Have never been
my
inside.
Dick, dinner plate. Yo dick, cast negate.
Like a dinner plate because
my
waitresses
dick,
be
strong
dropping
like
that
Hegel.
shit.
Yo, dick.
No, that doesn't work.
Wait, hold on. My dick, strong like Hegel. Yo, dick, a weak ass Kegel. How does that? There was no philosopher named Kegel. Shut up. I had to make the rhyme. I might listen to that song tonight. It'd be fun. It'd be a fun thing to do while I'm grinding through 90 fucking Genshin Impact quests at once.
I remember like putting on music like just to listen to it, but I haven't done it in a long time.
It's not worth it.
Well, there's a lot of cool music in like other stuff that I do or watch or play or whatever. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm less inclined, but people will hand you off the wildest shit. Like music is still happening.
Nah.
People will hand you off the wildest shit, but I don't have like a long delivery driving in the car type job anymore. Used to have those sometimes.
Yeah, music's not worth it. It's total.
When are you gonna do it? When are you gonna do it?
Time waste. Total bunch of bullshit. It's not worth it unless you're listening to that Friends theme. You remember that song? Do you remember the Friends theme? I'm just asking a question. Do you remember
like that song Happy Birthday. Do you guys know that song?
You know that jam?
Oh God, yeah. Oh God.
Ross, it really is sad, 'cause you're a piece of shit and you're not that kid's
One of those.
dad. You really oughta quit.
It's one of those. People were like, wouldn't it be fun to go watch this TV show from the 90s? And I had like a dark feeling in the back of my mind, like, no, it won't. Not that one. Don't ever look at that. Don't ever look at that again. Don't remember. Don't ever remember.
This show is about Joey's sexual harassment and that Monica was fat and Chandler's gay as shit. Do 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 do.
They did have like a weird, like so much of it is like dark through a more modern, more futuristic lens.
It's dark and offensive.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, of course Chandler is dating Ross's sister as a beard and he's not actually enjoying sex with her. Of course that's the case.
Yeah.
Of course Monica is like 2 minutes away from suicide because of her neurotic disorder. And I also like the fact that, what was it, the blonde one robbed fucking Ross?
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Ross is just the most annoying person in the world. It's like, I'm an archaeologist. Who did I do? Was that Seinfeld? Fuck.
That
Seinfeld.
might be like
so.
a 50-50.
What's the deal with my annoying voice? I always scream
like
real high.
a 50-50 Ross Jerry kind of blend, really.
I'm, I'm David Rossfeld. I was the Jew on every 90s sitcom.
Extremely Jewish name.
Ross Feldstein.
Rosfeld Steinberg.
Yeah, I'm David Rossfeld Steinberg. Steinberg. There we go. Seinfeldberg. No.
That's how you create the most Jewish possible last name is you add other popular Jewish prefixes and suffixes for a surname to the word Seinfeld. Like that's how you
Seinfeldenberg.
Yeah.
Seinfeldenberg. And this is the Sons of Trier podcast and live stream. I'm your host, Dan Cohen. I'm joined by co-host Cenk Angles.
Apparently choosing racism today.
Yeah.
And I'm joined by co-host The True Horror.
God damn it. Did the show start while we were trying to create the most anti-Semitic last name ever?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Nah,
Well, whatever.
that's
Hi,
kinda
everybody.
As the only Jew on the podcast tonight, I permit all behavior. Let's go for the big one. Let's go for
Dan
your
Cohen
choice.
speaks for all Jews.
I speak for all Jews.
Speak for Judah. Is that a word or is that racist?
Yes.
Jewry or Judum?
Jewery.
That's gotta be racist.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
There's no way that's not.
You just swung for the fucking fences and hit that homer, buddy. You aimed and bam, out of the park.
That
You
just
even
sounds
called your
awful.
shot Babe Ruth style.
Yeah, you
But I
call
mean, like-
that shit.
That's like something that they do have a point about though. Like if I'm like some kind of anti-defamation like flaming zealot or whatever, like and I'm like people really don't know how insanely anti-Semitic and anti-Jewish a lot of shit is. And that's true. People really don't know the level that it goes to and they really don't think about it a lot.
I don't know. Like
Does that mean there should be an Iron Dome? No. But
does that mean because of all the anti-Semitism, we should let Israel bomb Palestine?
No.
Well,
No.
some
The answer is
sources
no.
say, obviously. And since they're Jews, and this is now an Identity Politics podcast, who are we to argue with the Jews?
Yeah.
That
I
means
guess that's true.
as long as it comes from your race or your sexual orientation or your gender, you should definitely be doing hate crimes on that basis. I can't even. Identity politics rocks. That's all I'm saying. Identity poll is great because it's like, no, I did a gender crime because I'm a woman.
That's what we keep
and
saying on
they
the
were
show is that
non-binary, so I was threatened.
it's the kind of thing where you thought like, okay, they're going to do this for a while and then this is going to kind of melt away. But instead it's like
Nope.
melting down. It's like accelerating and melting down and like splitting atoms at such a rate. Like I didn't think watching this implode was going to be as amazing as it is.
Yeah.
Tonight I was like, okay, like I didn't just pass out after work this time. I'm gonna do the show with the fellas. It's gonna be awesome. I wonder what's going on Twitter. And I opened Twitter for 1 second and I went to Dan's feed.
Oh, Lord.
And I saw a video which apparently was meant to humanize two individuals.
So 2 mistakes were made there.
Yeah.
Opening Twitter,
Yes.
Dan's feed.
Yeah.
Disagree. Thank you.
Of course
But-
you do.
Yeah. My feed rocks.
I would assume that, you know, listener, if you're hearing this, you know what little clip of video that I'm referring to. And you know, there it is, right? There it is, right?
Yeah.
There were news networks, you know, all across the country, left, right, center, serious, unserious, of every spectrum, saying how remarkable it was that Pete was a gay man.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the
Hours.
other clip.
Every day. No.
The one where
the
Biden called
judge.
Satchel Paige a boop.
Yeah, that was good. That was just plain like, well, there you go.
Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that, Jank?
No, I didn't. Did he use the word magical too?
No, he said he was a great boop grow.
Oh.
Yeah, in his defense, like, here's the thing: the way the news is reporting this, the way the news is reporting that, it's like, excuse me, he did not call Satchel Paige a boop. He said the word boop after talking about Satchel Paige in the same sentence, and used that as a stand-in noun for Mr. Page. But what he meant was to say the Negro League. And it's like, it's like you are allowed to just say that Biden accidentally referred to Satchel Paige as a Negro, and then like correct it to say, to point out that Biden corrected himself.
Like Biden grew up in an era when that was said.
He grew up.
It is not okay that he said it.
He grew up in an area when,
but it is understandable that he said it.
Yeah, and like, the fact that he then like switched to the correction shows like, no, the Negro is the Negro League, not Satchel Paige. So it's like, you could just. I think
that one hits harder based on your accent too.
Yeah.
And Biden, I'm gonna say, does not have a good voice for saying it. Gonna sound bad when he says it.
That R gets real hard.
Yeah. There's a lot of I in the E when the wrong guy says it. There is. This is science. This is word science, which probably has a name with an ology on it.
Oh my God.
But there's a lot of I in the E when the wrong guy says it. Is all I'm saying.
A lot of it. Yeah. But yeah, no, that was the video that really killed me. Like, I was getting ready to remix Date Night and just have Chasten just chanting Date Night over really happy music. The second one, he's like, Date Night. That one. And then I saw the Biden with Negro. I was like, well, how are you supposed to make the joke when your topper is already out there? Date Night, Negro. Like, I guess I could do that.
But yes, you follow my point. He, rose to prominence for, like, it's noteworthiness rather.
Yeah.
For like, okay, this guy has a shot. This guy could be the president, y'all, and he's a gay man. Like, that's why, objectively,
oh my God,
in the liberal power structure, that is a candidate. And they acted like there were other qualifications and other reasons. And I'm sure that behind the scenes there were, but what we mostly heard about, what they knew to drive the media narrative with, was a person's sexual orientation.
Right.
Which is, I was very numb to it and very used to it then. But the more time since those events of the primary that I've had to think about it, and the more that this meltdown of it that we're observing is accelerating, the more it stands out as bizarre. And I think that if a lot of people are feeling that when they see a video like that, if they're feeling like this is bizarre, these people aren't appealing, they're not qualified, where did these people come from?
They legitimately did look sad as fuck to have to sit next to each other. It was like watching Sartre's Hell as Other People just unfold live. Like, if there was ever a case that Sartre was right, there you go, right there.
Yeah.
Just Date Night. It's just the saddest fucking shit. You know what? All right, so we're in the show now. We killed a good 10 minutes there, so for the opener, to ease people in. So let's go back to talking about free will. I want to propose something to you again.
This is the question we were told to prepare for.
Oh, maybe. Let us assume the libertarian model of free will exists, okay? And it is proper and right from a moral standpoint and from an ethical standpoint, which is slightly different, just action, morally correct action may not be ethically appropriate given the specific scenario. Because ethics do reflect how we conduct ourselves in society. Morals are the generally speaking, those are our first order principles you hear libertarians go on about. And let's say we have an absolute free will. I would like you to try under utilizing the libertarian notion of free will. I would like you to try to answer this question. Is there any possible way that Jeff is acting immorally or unethically by masturbating in public? If you are bound to libertarian free will and you are bound to libertarian ethics and morals, then is there anything immoral in Jeff masturbating in public? Full on, naked, really tugging it, fingers going everywhere. Sounds,
I'm
sweat.
leaning no, but I feel like there might be a little window of light somewhere, a little shaft piercing through the darkness. A little shaft. I'm leaning no though, because there's no real. He's not.
Jank, your response?
I have no idea. You took too long on the question. My brain shut down. I'm fried.
I'll repeat it again. Given the libertarian mode of free will,
Which is
absolute, and the individual's free will orb cannot be infringed thereupon.
okay.
Is there anything immoral or unethical about Jeff masturbating in public? I mean, whole hog, sweating, grunting, sound.
Yes, if you feel like it is negative towards public.
Really?
I
How?
don't know. I'm leaning no. I'm thinking that they, I'm another guy and I see this happening, and then I'm like, that might be fun to do. So I'm already like kind of thinking why it's okay.
You're kind of like, I should just go over there and join him, see if he wants a buddy.
Because if he looks like he's having fun,
Yeah.
that's what they're already thinking. That's why their concept exists. It's so that they can imitate every fun thing they see another person do, ad infinitum, seeking endlessly, just hedonistic pleasure and not realizing that the way the brain works is just not going to hit the same every time. Like, that's their whole trip, right? That's their whole thing. I think they would be justifying it. I don't think that anybody, if he was sad, if he was crying, they'd be like, all right, get this fucker out of here.
Okay. All right. So let's walk through it then, because as the pre-test question, is there anything immoral about it? I get a yes and a no. So let's see what it is, right? Let's take the libertarian notion of free will and expand it out. Free will is impeded in the libertarian model by the non-aggression principle. Any open acts of force, okay? And that does mean literal physical force, are verboten, okay? So anything where you initiate physical contact without somebody else, without their consent, another liberal favorite word, any physical initiation of unwanted contact is considered to be force. All force is inherently wrong. The sphere of your free will extends over what you can lay claim to and what is recognized as your property right. Okay? So any act of vandalism against your property, intentional or unintentional, is the implementation of force against you personally, right? Your body is an extension. Your body is extended by the things that you own.
I'm feeling like maybe he can crank it, but he can't come, because that would be vandalism.
That is a great answer.
I'm thinking maybe he can't actually, unless he has like a little cup or something.
Okay. Let's assume for the sake of argument as well, there is still the notion of the commons and what is owned. Okay. So the commons is everybody's space. Nobody owns it. There's still private property, right? The basis of liberal property rights. within the framework of free will. This is an extension of your free will. These are zones where everybody can extend their free will. Public, as I said, is an extension of the commons. Okay? So nobody owns that. Libertarians view the absolute determinant of free will as individual thought. Do I want to or do I not want to? Right? That's the only thing that matters. There's no notion of responsibility. There is no notion of a social contract for taboo behavior. Whatever the self wants, the self can gratify on. Right? We'll call this the vulgar hedonist principle.
Right, this is the meaning of life, right? You wouldn't want to impede this instinct because this is what it's all about.
Right. Self-gratification and fulfillment.
Yep.
Okay. So, the ability to exercise free will is reflections of one's individual power, but conflict notably cannot be negotiated through force prima facie. Conflict has to be negotiated by a mutual arbiter to determine whose free will can be exercised. So there is a check on free will. If two wills clash, that check is some mutual arbitration body external both free wills who will hear the case present and then rule on the case, right? So there is an external authority per se that has the ability to arbitrate disputes, right? And we see that reflected in liberalism as well. That's your court system. That's your legalist attitude towards society. Okay? So far, so good?
Yeah.
So we have, you can't use force to negotiate your free will. You have to go through some sort of arbitration process. Free will is an absolute individual right, and free will extends over your property. It does not extend into the commons in the sense that you can own the commons unless you have legitimate claims to the commons, which is generally accepted to be what you are utilizing in the moment. The actual space you're occupying at any given second within the commons. Okay, so far so good?
Sure.
Cool. Let's talk about Jeff and his jacking it then. So Jeff's just cranking away in public, full view of a school. In front of him is a school, and behind him, while he's fingering his own ass, there's a nursing home, and then to his left-hand side, okay, there's just a parade of veterans. And to his right is an outdoor meeting of sexual assault survivors. In the libertarian worldview, in a perfect libertarian society, right, does Jeff have any moral responsibility to stop cranking it?
I don't think he does.
Yes.
What is his moral responsibility?
I mean, it is causing pain.
Is he initiating force? He hasn't touched anybody. Remember, force is
You
only
don't have to
initiated by
touch someone to cause pain.
Yes, you do. That's the libertarian principle. Force is initiated through actual force against property or persons. It is a negative action taken by the participant in which you contact them. Jeff isn't touching anybody but himself.
And whenever we lock up libertarians, they will not be touching anybody either. That's the point.
But themselves. Well, we're not talking about our ethics. We're talking about
Don't worry, it's not force because we won't touch them after that point.
Yeah, no.
We're talking
I see what
about
you're saying though.
ethics.
Like, you know, if I'm a guy, you know, and I have like a tiger farm, like they could be mad at me, like if I did something violent to one of the animal, that makes sense. But like, you know, let's say that I just did stuff with like words and emotions and stuff. Like that's not violence. Like,
Right.
you know, those guys came around of their own accord, and that one totally didn't want to kill himself.
Right.
Like, none of that stuff is my fault if I'm a libertarian. None of that stuff.
I am devoid of responsibility as long as I don't initiate the physical contact. I didn't put the gun in his hand.
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
just
make
talk
him shoot
somebody
himself.
all the way into killing themselves, and then
Right.
be like, I didn't touch him, man.
That is why the oversimplification of the counterpoint words can be violence, right? That's an oversimplification, but
Yeah.
if I cajole you repeatedly into having sex with me, or into doing heroin, or into killing yourself, a reasonable person would presume that you are responsible for that in some part. We understand that the person who did the action is the person who's done the societally viewed negative action. But on some level, you have coerced them into doing it. You have put pressure on them. You have put social pressures on them to do it. In the libertarian worldview, there is no society. There is no social pressure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, I ask you, and I'm being very serious, Jenk, why would it be morally reprehensible for him to do this and thus stop? He has not violated the non-aggression principle.
Sure, if you subscribe to
libertarian
libertarian mentality, I don't even think most reasonable libertarians would not say that.
Well,
force is only occurred whenever you physically force something upon someone, and also you are forcing an observation.
Funny enough, you disagree with philosopher Hans Hermann Hoppe, who is famous for pointing out that if you beat your kid to death, you violated the non-aggression principle, but if you withhold food from them, you haven't, so that's okay. So,
holy shit.
And he is a leading thought leader in the new right libertarian fascist alliance. So,
yeah.
According to libertarianism, maybe most run-of-the-mill libertarians weren't, but certainly their thought leaders would disagree with that position. So, if libertarians always want to argue ad absurdum in regards to communism, let's play that game. Let's go ahead. Is there anything in libertarianism, as it stands, with its great vaulted ethics, under the non-aggression principle, to stop you from simply cranking it in front of children, in front of old people who didn't ask for it, in front of veterans, and most importantly, in front of sexual assault survivors? Is there anything stopping you from doing that?
Doesn't seem to be.
Doesn't seem to be, does there? There is one thing that would make it morally reprehensible, right? If Jeff thought it not appropriate for him to do that there, it boils down to his individual free will. If he finds it distasteful, right?
Oh, right.
That's the only thing. So the answer is yes, but only Jeff can find it morally reprehensible. Which, if he's in the middle of the act,
he probably doesn't.
He probably doesn't, or if he does not find it as pleasurable as the counterpoint. And here we enter into filthy utilitarianism, right? They love their libertarians and liberals love their little utilitarian thought games. So let's go ahead and play them. Let's say that you are a bus driver and you earn your wage by driving a bus for a private company. It is public transport in that anybody is free to access it provided they pay the fee. You happen to love heroin as the bus driver. Can't get enough of that wonderful stuff. Okay?
I mean, to be fair, everyone loves heroin. Some people just don't know that yet. Or try to forget.
That's true. And let's say you happen to be enjoying yourself while driving, which, since they're not inherently incompatible, sticking a needle in your arm or smoking it if you're some sort of degenerate, and driving a bus don't inherently conflict in that you can do both at one time, and you happen to, nod off. And now you crash your bus into that school. Okay? Let's play the NAP game again. Ready? Let's play a little free will. Have you violated anybody else's free will?
Ooh, wait, sorry. Catch me up on that last part again.
Okay. So you nod off and you crash your bus into a school. Have you violated anybody else's free will?
Yes.
Whose?
The people who are trying to get places.
No.
Yeah, you've made it inconvenient for them.
Oh, okay, to be fair, yes, you violated everybody's free will, right? Certainly anybody you hit in that school, you violated their free will. Did you violate the non-aggression principle in violating their free will?
No, because you didn't mean to do that shit. You had it under control. You do that every morning before you drive the bus. That's what you do. And that day, your fucking dealer had just set you up with really powerful heroin and didn't tell you like an asshole.
That it was heroin.
So arguably the drug dealer. So arguably you're the victim in this scenario.
Yeah, you totally are.
You're
because
totally
like you didn't know that was gonna happen. Like
yeah.
Usually it makes you drive really good.
Right.
And everyone likes it. And they say, wow, this is some awesome driving. I'm enjoying this bus ride very much. That's what usually happens. You had no way of knowing. So you didn't willfully commit any aggression against anybody. It's just you're a victim of circumstance.
You're a victim of circumstance. Okay, interesting take. All right, Jank, agree, disagree?
Sure.
Which one?
Yes.
You hold on. Answer the question properly so we know what
I don't know what you want from me. I like none of this I already subscribe to.
You're not
literally none of it.
You're not you know, the point of a thought exercise is not to necessarily find out what you already agree with. You should be able to do that on your own. The point is, under the parameters, if we're criticizing something, and we certainly are tonight, my favorite thing to criticize, have you violated the NAP when you nod off and wreck that bus?
Yes.
Why?
Because you've stopped people from going to work and I assume abusing children.
Interesting. You did violate their free will, but did you actually initiate force against them by nodding off while driving a bus?
Yes.
What were you doing? You were asleep.
You initiated the force against them via the bus.
Didn't.
If I get in a car, hang on. If I get in a car and I drive it at you, is that initiating force against you?
I see what you're saying. You stored the kinetic energy in the car when you were conscious, and then you I don't know though. That's tricky.
The problem is you actually didn't violate the NAP because you made.
Hang on. You never answered my question. You do this to me all the time.
What?
That's tricky.
If I get in a car,
yeah, this is tricky,
and I drive it at you, and I hit you with it, have I assaulted you, or have you just allowed a car to assault you?
In that case, you have violated the NAP. But what's the difference? You were awake. You made a conscious decision to strike me.
Hang on. I'm not done yet.
Okay. Keep going.
True is correct. There is kinetic force being stored in the vehicle.
Yeah, you made it go that fast before you fell asleep. This is the tricky part.
Exactly. You could have just as easily pulled over.
This is where you got to say you're a victim of circumstance because you never would have intentionally gave up control of that vehicle.
This is the difference. The three of us see the nature of responsibility. If I act irresponsible socially, I am at fault for the consequences. But what's one of the rules of the game? The rules of the game is there is no society to be socially responsible to. So your storing of kinetic energy in the vehicle is irrelevant. It is about it is about whether you made a conscious decision to do it. You made a conscious decision to do heroin. The consequences of which you are.
I forgot this was a libertarian society. So yes,
society.
You are causing problems because you are not abusing a 10-year-old.
Yeah, because see, physical reality, all it does is impede, the pursuit of, natural free will, in seeking, pleasure and good times. Like, that's all it does. It's like not worth a fuck, physical reality. So in order to achieve this like utopian libertarian scenario, everyone would have to agree basically that, physical reality is the enemy.
Well,
it doesn't matter where that bus was. It doesn't matter where that bus was, what that bus did. Did he mean to do that shit? No, he did not. That's just physical reality fucking up his free will. So, it's not his fault.
Which tells you something interesting about libertarian lawsuits. If we had a libertarian legal code, you could literally set Rube Goldberg-esque traps for people and kill them, and you haven't actually initiated force. All I did was build a death trap. You're the one who walked into my death trap.
Yeah, that bowling ball that, said push me on it, it rolled into that wire that dropped that piano. I mean, a lot of stuff happened, after after I put that bowling ball there. It's
Yeah.
not my fault.
Yeah, because remember how we talked about fatalism and pre-fatalism? In a fatalistic society, right? In a fatalistic society, outside of what you're directly responsible for, your direct decision making, you have no responsibility to the consequences. Yeah. So under the NAP, when I say initiate force, I mean you pull the trigger aiming at the guy.
Yeah.
If I just decide to rip, like, let's you know what? Play another game. Ready? You have a 50 caliber sniper rifle.
Okay.
You decide to post yourself up in the 6th floor of an office building outside of a school. Okay.
In Dallas, Texas.
It could be in Dallas. Could be anywhere where there's 6 floors and a school next to it. You begin to unload bullets into that building, your 50 caliber, and
well, again, you could have damaged someone's 10-year-old wife. Well, so yes, in this case, you've caused them great harm.
You begin unloading into that building, right? When questioned as to why, because now you violated the NAP, the NAP no longer applies to you. That is one of the caveats. Force can be initiated to stop somebody who's acting in force, self-defense principle. When asked why, you've always wanted to see what a 50 cal would do to a building. Along the way, now here's the other 2 facts you need to know. The school is privately owned, okay? Inside the school are the customers of the privately owned school. Several of them die from your 50 caliber sniper rifle fire. Have you violated the NAP, and against whom have you violated it, if you have?
I'm sticking with the husbands of those 10-year-olds.
Okay. True.
All I can think of now is the guy saying, "I've always wanted to see," and then it does like a smash cut flashback to like 3 hours previous. He like saw the gun on like a Discovery Channel show, and he was like, "Wow."
Okay, but the point of the game. So he fires at a privately owned school. He unloads his 50 caliber into it. Some people have died, right? Some of the students, some of the teachers, whatever, the employees, whatever. So has the shooter violated the NAP? And if so, against whom? Who is the aggrieved party? Who is the legitimately aggrieved party?
I'm going to take the obvious answer of anyone dead.
You're taking the obvious answer of everyone dead. You are wrong. So,
of course.
Go ahead. True? What's your guess?
Like it's the guy that owns the building.
Correct. You have only violated them.
Because that was your intent, was to smash fucking shit up.
Bingo. You pulled the trigger against their property. So the person aggrieved to the scenario is the person who runs the private school and owns it.
If you
I
want to
still feel
live
like
out...
the correct answer is the husbands of the 10-year-olds, but whatever.
Irrelevant.
No, listen, you can
You've
live out
damaged
your
their
dream,
property.
Though. No, listen, you can live out your dream, though. You can live out your dream. If you're just watching Discovery Channel one afternoon and you're like, wow, that's the guy from Full Metal Jacket, and he's in a tank, and look at that gun, and I want to see what that gun does. You can live out that dream if you're rich. In their perfect world, you can just do that to your own building that you own. And then, you get to think of something else to do 5 minutes later because you're rich.
Yes.
Like, that's the best part. That's the best part of the fact that people take them seriously and let them have a presence in our government. That's the best part.
Because you own more property, your sphere of influence is magnified along the physical barriers of that property. Ergo, there are more physical opportunities in the material world for you to experience legitimate grievance, as defined by a libertarian. So when they say rich people are the most trodden upon people in the world, in their worldview, aren't they though?
Because they're the ones with the things that you can trot upon.
Right, exactly. Right. We're trotting on their shit all the time.
Literally, their shit.
Literally, in 1865, the federal government did a lot of trotting on those libertarians' property rights, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
A lot of it. So, I think we can safely agree, as a council of wizened elders, that the libertarian notion of free will is complete bullshit.
I mean, it just feels like.
I mean, your concept of it, yes.
It just
My
feels like.
concept of it. Go read the non-aggression principle and think about it.
It's what they are is like, even if
you can't.
there
no,
are guys.
Hold on. You can't say that shit. I've done the fucking homework, my friend. I am not.
Listen, I can say anything I want. According to the libertarians, I can say anything I want.
Your deeply held libertarian beliefs as of the last because you knew you could piss me off with it. Yeah.
It's a very libertarian thing to do, is to say that you've always wanted to do this, and it's a deeply held belief that you have.
Yeah.
You want to do one
exactly
more?
what I'm going to say.
You want to do one more?
Do you want to hear me call libertarians pedophiles again?
Yeah.
Well, then I think we have our answer.
Let's say.
Here's your goal. Before you think about this any further, you need to figure out a way that you can not involve children so that I can make it involve children.
Well, like, there's other stuff that you do, like, if you're rich and you've done everything, like, there's other stuff you do, like...
Yeah, like 9-year-olds.
No, sometimes when you're not, like, doing that, like, in between, like, you go into a room, and there's a bunch of guys, and they're like, it's an iguana, and you're like, nom nom, this is awful, nom nom. Like, there's other stuff that, like, he ate an iguana. Like, what the fuck is wrong with... They were pranking you, maybe? I don't know. Don't eat a fucking iguana, you dipshit.
Don't worry, this is quote-unquote pig.
Right.
But you see what I'm saying? There's other stuff that they do, you know?
Yeah, like pig.
So...
when they've done all the stuff and they're out of stuff to do.
So I actually have two more now. Now that I think about it, I have two more. The fun ways to illustrate the NAP and its immeasurable failings, right? Just kind of broad strokes like, oh yeah, this is a fucked up thing. You should not just stop your ethics there. You're a fucking idiot and you're probably a horrible person. So, you run a major news network. We'll call it Fox News for the sake of argument. Now, you're a fat...
You mean Fox, F-A-U-X, correct?
No, I mean F-O-X News.
Oh.
This does not actually necessarily resemble any incidents that have actually occurred.
In this scenario, are you Australian?
No, you're not Australian.
Yes.
Are you an Aussie?
You're a fat, shitty, toad-shaped, overly sweaty man
who's
sexually unappealing to anything but the hut species.
Okay, it's the other one. The other one. It's not the Australian one.
For legal reasons, we're not saying the name. And
old hamburger dick? I've heard old hamburger dick.
And
around the station I heard they used to just say old hamburger dick.
And you have hired some sexually attractive women. We'll say objectively sexually attractive on pure aesthetics.
We'll say all blondes. We'll say...
Perhaps.
Say roughly 17 to 19 years old.
Maybe 19 to 22 for the most part.
Yeah, a couple of them, yeah.
And you happen to call them into your office. As is your right. You're the boss after all. Right? Now, you own some of the stock in this company as this particular boss, so you're part owner. So this is your... this is a place where you can exercise your free will.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you merely say to these young women, if you suck my filthy, disgusting, sweaty hamburger dick that smells awful, because I'm hut-sized but human shape, and I am just sweating in these black pants like nobody's fucking business, and it's just very, very salty down there.
Oh, God.
And I haven't been able to reach or shave my penis in 30 years. So it's all mad and tangled and nasty. And
I don't know what's going on down there. You tell me in a minute.
Yeah, you're going to need to tell me at some point here.
A large
I don't know what's going on down there.
Ejaculate has just permanently matted into the area because, of course, I can't wash it properly.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on down there. It's none of my business.
It's your business.
Yeah, it's your problem.
If you do not perform oral sex on my disgustingly mangled and mutilated penis, I will fire you. But if you do, and allow me to ejaculate inside of your body instead of over my own cinnamon roll,
Much shittier body.
but shittier body and genitals. I'll give
Like
you
the
a
cinnamon bun
raise.
from Adventure Time.
Like the cinnamon, yes, my penis looks something like the cinnamon bun from Adventure Time. The gaping maw is just my permanently sealed open cockhead from all the ejaculate gluing me to my own pubes. And if I try to have anybody actually move it, I am in searing pain as the sore and sensitive skin around it begins tearing like wet paper.
Yeah.
My nerves are still firing in full due to a sciatic problem because of my morbid obesity. Now, have I violated the non-aggression principle in making that offer of quid pro quo sexual harassment with the threat of termination?
No, it's a fucking huge hassle running a TV station. What the fuck is the point of doing it unless you can fucking get your dick sucked? Jesus.
Jank.
I'm gonna go with yes.
And again, we don't understand the rules of the libertarian free will.
I'm gonna go with yes because I couldn't figure out a place to insert a 9 or 10-year-old, and therefore you have aggressed onto my opinion of libertarians, and I don't like it.
Okay.
You have committed a hate crime,
I
really.
haven't. I did. You know what? I didn't call them the B word, but I certainly said they enable the R word.
Yeah.
Specifically, the quid pro quo R words.
I just really I think that's it, really. Like people have this watered down conception of what in practice Rand Paul or whoever is actually gonna do centrist shit. But it doesn't make a fuck.
No.
The whole point of it is this endlessly narrowing path that just leads to more and more depraved shit.
Fucking
that
ruin. Yeah.
That's why our go-to joke always is child
libertarians.
slavery.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you run out of they would run out of other shit to do.
They would go to
Some
that
of them
so
are rich enough that
fast.
they already have.
It would be
yeah.
literally like
Seconds.
a week, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even think
Yeah.
a week. I think they'd be on the horn immediately. Find me a guy who will buy children and sell them to me.
No, I mean like the staunchly, committed ones would be
Oh.
like, it might take a week.
Oh, the ones who disband NAMBLA because they're too poor?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. That's about right.
I just say it all the time like it's a normal thing to say. I said it at work in reference to automotive parts. They were like, okay, these are ocular issues here, okay, and these are haptic issues. And somebody was like, what the fuck is haptic? And I was like, it's got to be touch, right? It's got to be like when they're going to buy this son of a bitch
Yeah.
on the lot, they like to caress it and rub their hands over it. When they're buying a car or like a child slave. I just said, like child slave or whatever. That was a normal joke to tell in front of 5 or 6 coworkers.
You didn't.
Oops.
Well, I mean,
Oops.
it's a new car. It's an expensive new car. The guy shopping for it, is going to treat it. He's going to look exactly like he's purchasing a child slave. It just was a very natural place for me to go to make a joke, and we joke around, we goof
We
Haha, funny.
we have goofs and spoofs.
at the Racism Factory. We have goofs at the Racism Factory. Somebody was like, "Hey, hey, working hard or hardly working?" And I was like, "Haha, child slavery." We have goofs,
Yeah.
It was a normal thing to say.
Just a funny set of sounds.
It
Yeah.
felt like a normal thing to say at the time.
Yeah.
But that's how over libertarianism as a notion, I guess, that I am. Is
Yeah.
that I know that that's what it does.
It's
Is it
the
just
end
gets
game.
more and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no point in, teasing around.
Yeah, there's really no point in playing the game anymore because you know where it all ends. It all ends with child slaves. That's all they want. So,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess the last one I want to play with right now, because this is the most interesting one to me, right? And probably the single biggest failing of the NAP. You drag a man out to the woods, violating the NAP. To get him out in the woods, you put a gun to his head and you pull the trigger, right? You then feed him to bears. Nobody knows this man. Not really. Nobody pays attention to this man. So you execute him in the woods, feed him to bears, nobody finds the body, right?
Yeah.
The question is, did you really violate the NAP?
If it happens in the woods and doesn't make
Well,
a
I'm gonna
sound
go with-
except for the chomping of bears on bones.
I have two answers.
Okay.
The first one is, of course, yes. Now his child bride will go without a husband.
Right.
And the second is, yes, you did, but only while he was still alive.
Oh, there you
Interesting.
go. There you go.
Not where I would have gone with it. Actually, an interesting point. That is one of the possible answers. I didn't even think about that one.
Take
Yeah,
that.
that's excellent. That's excellent.
I'm participating.
No, that's excellent. Yeah, that's excellent. The instant that somebody is dead, they can no longer have any grievance.
Right. They don't have any legitimate property claims because they're not alive to make the claims. That's number
Jesus.
You
Christ.
lose your property when you die.
That's right. You lose all your property when you die. And that actually, to their credit, the notion of passed down generational wealth upon death is at baseline abhorrent. Now, in practice, they're like, yeah, no, that shit's great. But
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. Yeah.
on paper,
Capital gains tax bad.
yeah, on paper,
Inheritance tax bad.
yeah, on paper, that is supposed to go back to the commons to be re-extracted. That's one of the grand cycles of capitalism to keep the machine functioning, right?
Huh.
Yeah, that actually is. Now, in practice, they fucking hate it. I mean,
Yeah.
just absolutely fucking detest it. But on paper, the one thing they have that I will give them immensurate credit for is that generational wealth should not exist, and it should be it should go to a hard reset so it can go up to grabs for anybody who has the force of will to grab it. Right?
Wow, it's really sad to think how much longer their big fucking dying shit show could have gone on and how much more effective it could have been if they had just stuck to that principle. That's really sad, right? Like,
if they would have hardcore stuck to that, they would have much better footing. But they can't because it subverts the notion of like a Roger Ailes, whom they don't like tacitly or privately very vehemently support. Which is the ability to commit quid pro quo sexual harassment. Roger Ailes didn't exist because Roger Ailes himself was individually wealthy. He had the material basis to become that wealthy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Part of that was generational. Part of that was the type of work that he did, paying very well because that was a desired goal by other rich people. But yeah, so problem number one, the NAP stops applying when you're dead, right? So what happens to your carcass? And since that's not since that's your body, Mr. Dead Victim, your relatives don't have a legitimate claim of grievance, do they? Because you didn't pull the trigger on them.
Yeah, whatever happens after you're dead, it's literally no one's concern. It only would have been your concern, and you're dead now.
Right.
There is no such thing as the family in this notion. The nuclear family is absolutely obliterated in a logical sense, which again...
And a 10-year-old won't understand anyway.
Right,
yeah.
10-year-olds can't possibly understand it. The other problem is a lot of crime is defined by the act of observation and the detection thereof. And just like in liberalism, and unfortunately would be under socialism, and was under monarchy, right? Without somebody to detect something has violated society's rules, which in this case is only loosely glommed together in a very haphazard fashion with the NAP,
yeah,
you really haven't violated anything. And it's precisely because you were discreet, right? There is no effort. This human being was not worth much. Nobody loved him. Nobody cared for him. Nobody was worried about where he was. When he disappeared, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
And now you have a situation where has a crime actually been committed? And is there any, if somebody were eventually to discover that body and link it back to him, right, in some fashion, the shell casings, DNA evidence, whatever, from his obvious rape, because they're
magic
rapists, right? Or some sort of magic that would let you see back in time to witness this act. Is there any legitimate claim for that person to violate the killer's NAP rights?
Never mind how incredibly unlikely anybody would be to do that in a libertarian utopia.
Well,
because they would have other shit they could be doing, like other than,
like 9-year-olds.
Yeah. The reason they would do that is obvious. It's out of a morbid fascination with the dead and crime. It's not out of any higher...
Oh, right. Okay. They ran out of other shit to do in hedonism, dream world.
But now they're searching for the dead bodies of 10-year-olds.
Right. They're like, now I'm going to get into crime.
I'm going to leave to people's imaginations why they're looking for that.
Yeah, I'm getting into desecrating human remains is my thing.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
in that regard, right? Unless your family is paying for that plot, right? You can't actually desecrate human remains. Nobody owns them now. They're just lying
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Right?
It doesn't bother him. He doesn't know
They won't be after the time that he's done.
Oh, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
if you go to a school, like if you go to a big important school where you guys hang out with other rich guys and you talk about, like these ruling principles of like freedom and stuff, like it might be okay after you guys are done talking about that to like do some coke and fuck the skull of a dead indigenous person. It might be okay,
Yeah.
to like do that.
Oh, don't
Like,
worry, it's okay.
nobody knows you guys have the skull. You've denied having the skull for decades. Everybody believes it because it's ridiculous to think that you would jack off into a coffin or fuck a skull or any of the stuff that you definitely did before you went on to become president of the United States. All that stuff's okay.
Yeah.
Those guys are dead.
Well,
Doesn't matter. Nobody owns that skull.
in that specific scenario, somebody does own that skull and they permit that usage of that property. Certainly not the dead man who would not want to be jacked off nearby by a white boy from fucking the sticks who's lanky and looks like a fucking like skeleton. Why the fuck did Bush? He just looked like a potato-faced little fuck.
Okay, some portion of them is Kennebunkport and all that shit.
Yeah.
Some portion of them is like this weird other dimension in Massachusetts or wherever that's like the opposite of like Cthulhu shit. It's like
Anti-Cthulhu.
Yeah.
It's very much Cthulhu shit. It's very much in the style of the New England 8-foot tall, 20-pound man. It had just like happened to like unluckily win the lottery and fucking get potato faced like a Midwesterner. Like, there's no way that the indigenous
Like there's a
person-
slider that says lanky, and it's
Yes.
just like you took that slider all the way to the right. Just like, how lanky can the human body get? Oh, that's some lank.
That is
Oh,
dank.
damn.
Some leg.
That is
Look at the
fucking
le-
dank
That's some
lank.
hard lank.
Look at the dank lank on this motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, honestly though, yeah, that kind of is the problem, isn't it? Like, and honestly, kudos to you, Jenk. I didn't even think about that. Of course, the NAP
Yeah.
doesn't apply once he's dead.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, you did violate it up until then. If that person had some way to make the legitimate property claim against you that
Right
you
up
murdered
until-
them, you got a fucking problem on your hands. But since
It's so good.
Since there's nobody to make the legitimate property claim on your behalf because you own your property, you own your body, you own all your things, once you're dead, those property rights are fucking obliterated.
Ooh, could you? Okay, so envisioning that I had the mental disability that is libertarianism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
Could you then make the argument? Fuck you, by the way. That his estate could sue
No.
because the
'Cause
estate
if they stuck to their
has
guns,
been
he doesn't
robbed.
have one.
the estate has been robbed of value by
Again.
you taking that body.
Again, by rights, you don't get an estate.
Yeah, if they stuck to
You're
their
dead.
actual hardcore shit. Yeah.
If you stick to the basic principle, when you die, that's it. Game's over. It's done. Whatever you accrued, you accrued. You're dead, and now all that shit reverts back to the commons.
Well, you've taken potential value from the commons then.
Here's the fascinating thing, though. Without the body, can you make a legitimate claim that it's no longer his property? If you don't actually know that guy's dead, in the scenario I described, bear ate him, that's it. He fucking vanished, right? There's no record that he's dead.
Right, and you're just saying that shit happened.
Well, we were presuming it's happened because it's been 150 years.
It goes back to the observer, right? Like,
Right.
it's really only the observer that can make and enforce law, so I guess nobody's allowed to have his shit for some period of time.
Well,
They would
but what's the
definitely have to
period of time?
decide.
The problem there is if it's been 10,000 years and that fucking guy's stuff is still there, it's all rotted
Yeah.
and wilted now because it's been uncared for. Can you actually prove he's dead? Can you actually do it?
So are you stealing from the commons by doing so?
Or are you stealing from the commons by doing so? Or worse, are you stealing, i.e. enacting force
Yeah.
against him?
Yeah.
Because now this dead person who has no rights to the property, but also nobody knows he's actually dead,
Yeah.
what do you do with his shit?
I'm sticking with I think that there's an argument to be had from someone who actually cares about this.
Well, again,
to
remember the game here is that nobody gives a shit about him. He's a
Yeah,
complete
yeah.
loner.
Yeah, no, but like even as a complete loner, right? His physical body is still a piss bag. Right?
Go
We
on.
must
Chris.
assume.
I'm not agreeing to anything. Go on.
The human body is a tool to generate piss, shit, and spit.
Okay, you got me there. It is a human machine that consumes and produces. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
So it still has some value as a repository for some small amount of piss, shit, and spit.
And the body itself.
The body itself
Is
has been
property of the
stolen from the
commons.
commons
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
by you, by the person committing the murder, and that is the purpose of a detective, is to catch people cheating the commons.
Here's the
Okay.
catch.
Yeah.
The reason things revert back to the commons is so that they can be seized by somebody else as a legitimate property claim. So
Sure.
You have,
And that's valuable fertilizer that you have gotten rid of
but you can't actually
from my fertilizing empire.
But you can't
You
actually,
bastard.
You can't actually steal from the commons, because to quote unquote steal from the commons, you have a legitimate property claim, which is the purpose of the commons.
Yeah, I have enough capital built up to own all of the fertilizer that gets produced by the commons, because I have purchased the politicians ahead of time to allow me to do that. And you are fucking up my system by getting rid of some of my goddamn fertilizer, my shit piss bag.
But
The employees are instructed to die in the field.
That's literally what I was thinking. The employees are instructed to die in the field because that shit is still valuable to me.
they're instructed to do so. They're under no compulsion to follow that order. That's kind of the
Right.
key caveat there, because you can't force them to follow that order. At the point you force them to follow that order by putting your hand on them or anything like that, they have every right to murder you. Because once the
Yeah.
NAP doesn't apply,
Castle Doctrine.
Mhm.
I'm still thinking about the guy that yells Castle Doctrine.
as he's doing a mass shooting.
Yeah.
Was that me?
No.
It's just like
Do you
a
want it to be
libertarian
you?
guy.
I don't know. We're assuming I have the mental disability that is libertarianism. So yes.
I mean, you could
My
and-
ass. Yeah, okay,
and
so
anybody could-
Jank when he does a mass shooting, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
you just
Castle Doctrine,
you just-
HIPAA violation, Castle
Castle Doctrine.
yeah.
shot.
You just yell Castle Doctrine every time you nail a headshot, and if
Yeah.
anybody tries to stop you, you yell HIPAA.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
roll 'em down.
I have a disease.
So it's a whole movie of that, of just like
No, you know what you do? You scream ADA, ADA, ADA. Title IX.
it's a whole
Oh,
movie of him
Jake, you
doing
could
that.
just scream Title IX and ADA while just mowing people down, and they'd be like, "Shit, we can't do a Title IX violation. He has rights in this society."
Every extra in the movie that gets killed has exactly half a line.
Yeah.
And they just get blasted.
Yeah.
It's just that for 2 hours.
Yeah. But no, to answer your question, you can't actually steal from the commons. That's the way property is secured initially. That's the initial securance of property. So whatever.
Yeah, and I'm in the middle of securing my property, you bastards.
Yeah. I need more fertilizer.
Yeah.
Although
I mean,
what's
I know
funny
I'm taking a super, ridiculous position, but this is also a super ridiculous question, so I don't feel like I'm totally out of the realm of
honestly, it's not really that ridiculous given the parameters of the game, which is be a libertarian. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Nobody knew
I think you're
how
making fun of
delicious.
yourself a little too hard there, pal.
Nobody
Alright.
knew how delicious that the vegetables were that were grown with the fertilizer of a rotting human corpse until somebody died out there. It was nobody's fault really. It just kind of happened. And then
Yeah.
after that, we all found out how much better those vegetables tasted.
Yeah, which
So
is
it
why
would,
I've continued to purchase all of the human
All of
bodies
the dead.
Right.
from the commons.
Yes.
because it would be wrong not to. It would be to deny the meaning of life, which is the pursuit of pleasure. It would
Right.
be
absolute pursuit of pleasure. Absolutely. Yes.
and go back to eating those shitty vegetables that aren't fertilized with the delicious corpse flesh.
That's right.
That
And I
would
would
be
never do
wrong
that
to
to
do that.
myself.
That would be wrong to do that to yourself.
I'm glad we're in agreement.
It would be incorrect.
It's absolutely abhorrent.
Because you know how much better the vegetables are.
Right.
And soon everyone will
And if
know.
any motherfucker tries to get in your way, you're going to secure their property and then take them out to the woods and shoot them.
And repurpose their body for fertilizer.
What I do mean to get at with that is without an independent observer who has the authority to declare the act potentially illegal and thus engage in intervening or to engage law enforcement to intervene, right? With the decay of society down to the basic level of the non-aggression principle, there is no greater mode to society than securing property by any means.
Yeah.
If there's no greater mode to society than securing property by any means, which is an extension of your free will and the self and so on, right? To extend yourself over and over the world. If there is no assurances beyond that, then the non-aggression principle itself cannot stand on its own scrutiny because, of course, there's nobody to ensure, there's nobody to arbitrate the non-aggression principle. Let's go back to that demonstration of you have a property claim, I have a property claim. And Sam Cedar has done this one before. You can see it plenty of times, right? In fact, he did that with Walter Block. Long-ass time ago, he had a debate with Walter Block, but this is kind of the story, right? So I want your land. I put some money into it once upon a time. I never utilized it. You went ahead and secured the land, and you've built a house on it. I want it to use as a nuclear waste disposal site, right? The rest of the community doesn't want me doing the toxic waste disposal site, but I want to do it, and I have money into that land, right? How do we arbitrate that dispute if there's no government? We're all operating off of the NAP. But what we'd have to do is
shoot one of them.
Well, hold on. Don't flip to the end of the book. Let's go through the steps, right?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
sorry.
Walter Block. So basically, what we'll do is we'll find somebody. You will take true, right? So Jank and I are in dispute. Jank wants to have a house and he wants to live. I want to turn his house into a toxic waste dump and poison my local community, right?
How dare you?
So Jank turns to True, who also lives in that community, and says, "Will you arbitrate this dispute?" True says, "Sure." Obviously biased against me.
Right.
Well, I go, well, no, I don't want him to arbitrate it. So I go ahead and I hire my friend who's also in the toxic waste dumping, he's in the barrel supply business. So he stands to make money for me as I buy barrels from him to store my toxic waste, right?
Yes.
So.
And you're right back to a shitty, flawed democracy again. You're right back to majority rule.
We have a shitty, flawed democracy, right? But we already know that. We'll get to that later, right? What we're doing is kind of laying the thought groundwork for next week where we go into consent. Okay.
Yeah.
And I really, I want to make a quick aside. You really should read that article from Marami Ose Frimpong on Medium, because that is one of the objections to consent that, as it's currently thought of, that's really, really important for our discussion next week. I
think I saw that link when I was online for like 5 seconds. Yeah, okay.
We'll do it because it's super important, right? It talks about enthusiastic versus non-enthusiastic consent. And enthusiastic consent really isn't consent, it's cooperation, right? So there is no such thing as enthusiastic consent because all consent is a yes, right? That's all it is. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. We're already wasting next week's content. Fuck that. So anyway, so now my arbitrator says I'm fine to do what I want to do. Your arbitrator, Jank, which is True. True says, yeah, Jank's fine. He should just build a house and you can go fuck off, right? So what do we do there? We both want to appeal, right? We want to appeal that decision because it's unfavorable to us. So then we have to find 2 more people. So we go find 2 more favorable people to rule on each other's appeals, right? So that we win on those appeals. Right? And if we cross appeal, we know we're going to lose. So we do that, so we lose, so then we go ahead and appeal again. And again and again and again. Till the whole world's been contracted 50-50. Right? Divided into 2 great camps. Toxic waste dump, no toxic waste dump. How do we actually arbitrate that dispute at that point? And Jank, I feel like you know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I already gave the answer. I apologize. I'm going back to the back of the book. Is it? I am armed.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are now at a critical philosophical junction. I want to, I don't want you to. That's irreconcilable in a situation where we're all paying people to agree with us.
Yeah.
We're paying, if I just pay half the planet to agree with me and you pay half the planet to agree with you, 3.5 versus 3.5 billion, how do we arbitrate that dispute? The answer is a world war. Because if you shoot me, the barrel guy is going to shoot you. If you get shot, True is going to shoot the barrel guy. The barrel guy's buddy, who supplies the trucks so that he can haul the barrels, he is going to shoot True. And that's just a war. We just have a global war over the most inane fucking property disputes. That is how you arbitrate under the non-aggression principle if disagreement continues. You both try to amass, first, legal power that you define as legally valid and accept, right? This is your 1%ers and 3%ers saying, oh, I only accept the sheriff, right?
Yeah.
And then when the sheriff goes against me, I'm mad at him too, so I don't accept him anymore, right? All legalism is derived from the self. And then when all else fails, violent conflict has to occur, which is exactly how people are talking right now, because we're getting to the end stage of this kind of thinking, right?
Yeah.
Which is bad. Most of us would agree that's bad. That's not how you solve problems.
No.
There's got to be a better way.
Even if a lot of people's hysterics about that are overblown, it's only because the current state of affairs is so good at repressing, stuff that otherwise might have exploded in a different era or under different circumstances. It's only because, like, sort of an opiate effect is the hallmark of the time period.
Right. And that opiate
Like
is wearing off.
Yeah.
Like any opiate addiction, it is now wearing to the point of constant incessant craving, and incessant craving produces aggressive behavior.
Yeah, like Next Door and stuff like that is the most next level version of like the conservative like Snoop neighborhood defender castle doctrine type fix, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about them just logging on to like read Snoop shit about like suspicious minorities that were like creeping around the neighborhood or whatever, like that's the ultimate highest level of just like I don't even shoot up anymore. I just do a bump every 5 minutes.
Yes. I just keep chasing the high. Yeah. And that's really part of it. The Lockean Watchman transformed into this omnipresent eye, right? I love to use the notion of Big Brother, because Big Brother assumes almost an externalized authority figure, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this is all of us mutually agreeing to spy on the other.
Yeah.
So these assholes who run their mouths about Big Brother, what they're jealous of is the overwhelming totalitarian potential of that kind of hierarchy. They want to turn that into kind of an anarchist thing where everybody has that absolute tyranny, right?
Right.
And we arrive at the last conclusion of libertarianism, which is it is an ideology designed to promote absolute tyranny of the individual over the masses, right? So when they talk about tyranny of the majority, no shit, they hate that. Because that means the individual tyrants who are in cooperation, who enter into the minority, are being overwhelmed by the majority.
Yeah. Like all the guys that I know believe that shit, like on some level view like cooperation and society as a whole as like a failed project and a waste of time.
Yeah, it's interesting that there are participants in a failed society, so that means all society is a failure. How many fucking societies have succeeded?
Right, it's
yours
0.
Because yours is shit. You have a shit notion of cooperation in society, and it fucking sucks. So yeah, everything's gone to shit and back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's simpler. I mean, they're not really processing it on like a thoughtful or good faith or considerate level. Like they don't want to know the answer to any of these questions.
No.
They just observably they feel like that they're mopey about throwing in on anything with anybody, and they just kind of use that to justify hyper individualistic and insane behavior.
Yeah, and then it declares society a failure because their hyper individualized ass doesn't want to not pee in the water fountain.
Yeah.
They have to go to a bathroom to take a piss and they've been aggrieved. Right.
Yeah, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. I can't just duke in the lunchroom while I'm eating. You know. But I mean, absolutely zero conception of cooperation. They declare all society a failure, which is a feature of liberal eternalism. They
Yeah.
absorb that as well. These things are eternal. And they kind of have to, because if you are one of these NAP freaks, right, the moment your clock is punched, that's it. You're over. You're done. You're a dead thing. You don't have any property right even over your own fucking body anymore. So you have to imagine yourself as fucking eternal, because the alternative to accept the premises of your own ideology will drive you insane with paranoia and fear. And what will you try to spend all your time doing? Cryogenically freezing yourself to escape death.
Yeah.
Oh, look, how many fucking freaks are doing that? So you don't, if we were to get to a very quick aside on free will, from free will, a little bit of a tangent there, right? That eternalist drive causes massive fucking mental illness, because now you're terrified of death. Your life had zero meaning, even if it was the simple life that Heidegger talked about. It is a direct, and notably, these libertarians and fascists fusing together, right, into this weird hodgepodge of hyper-authoritarian individualism, which is just fucking insane to even think about, right? Those ones who are getting devoured. Heidegger offers a sufficient way out of the death problem, right? The death of the self. It doesn't matter if you lived a simple life. The point is you lived it. That's good enough on its own, right? So you can just be happy with your existence. You don't have to be depressed about it. You don't have to feel like you were meant for greater things. If you didn't do greater things, you just didn't do them. It doesn't matter.
That's all that there is. That's all that there is. That's all that exists, is the cool stuff that you are able to do from birth to death.
Right. Whereas Heidegger proposes, not necessarily. That's, maybe that's good for you individually, but that is not a reflection on anybody else's existence, which I have said this before. The reason he said that was, of course, to get the German peasants to cooperate with the Holocaust. So that part's bad. But as an answer to the death problem, that actually is a sufficient answer. Maybe you as an individual don't, but the greater project of society that you participate in is still a good thing. There are things to be learned from Heidegger, even if, he kind of gets shit around the edges. And by edges, I mean a couple steps away from the center, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's in direct conflict with the libertarian notion, where you have to deny the existence of death until it arrives. Because if you don't, you know that your life is totally meaningless. All the wealth you've accrued and all the harm you've caused is completely rendered into nothing, and you yourself are nothing. You were nothing to begin with. You were the nihil, right? You were the absolute nothing. And then everything you did didn't matter, because you live in a fatalist society of random happenstance and occurrence. The only thing that matters is not actually doing anything.
Right. Not partying hard enough.
Well, no. Not initiating force. Not initiating. The point is to let things happen. The non-aggression principle teaches you pretty quickly that you're supposed to just lie down and fucking accept things and wait for the cold rod of death. Because you're not supposed to initiate force. You're not supposed to initiate success. You're not supposed to use force to achieve your goals. You're supposed to have a force of will without any fucking force. You just are pure, unchecked will, right? The ego run amok over society.
This is just like so much stuff that just either was designed to be or has become straight up right-wing territory over the years, which is, if they really did or believed or carried out, any of this stuff to its logical conclusions, like really did this hard, it would be kind of metal to see people do it and then like realize how insane it was, and like people really see how insane it was. It would be metal as fuck. Like if there were like real Christians, like, just like totally doing all kind of weird martyrdoms and stuff, it would be the most metal, amazing shit you ever saw. But of course there aren't any, and there aren't any libertarians, actually trying to do any of this like in broad daylight, like it just, it's really bizarre. It to have these like really idealized versions of things drive people's like what they think is their practical like material identity. Like I've worked for a lot of guys that are like this, and I suppose they make it in management because they can sell that they believe in all this individualism.
Well, they have to. Yeah, you have to sell it, because how are you supposed to get the peons to follow along?
Yeah.
You have to believe it, at least superficially. More than superficially, you kind of do actually have to believe it. Or you have to be goddamn good at lying. One or the other. But you have to like really absorb that shit, because how else are you supposed to justify yourself?
Yeah.
Because you're shit. In that scenario, you're probably a pretty shitty person to be around. And the only way to sell that, you kind of have to live it. You kind of have to absorb it. And the ideology has to be ever present. Even if you don't really agree, your disagreement is a superficial thing then.
Yeah. If you just get to like Ailes level where like your physical presence is that intolerable like to other like human beings, then you require that much power and wealth and control in order to sustain like basic human social contact.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the nature of free will we live under right now. And of course, from that derives all sorts of contorted forms of consent and rights, which we've talked about before. But we're gonna really hammer it home. We're gonna start that process next week.
Oh,
Yeah.
I so look forward to it.
Oh,
Look,
you
there's
are
a lot of
love consent.
there's a lot of meat on those bones also these days. I think with the Wild West sort of environment still, even after years of like end user license agreements and things like that, just like a lot of that stuff never makes it to any high courts and any high profile cases or anything. Like it continues to just kind of go on without solving any problems. But shit like NDAs and shit like that is in there. There's a lot of meat on those bones, man.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna pick at them bones. All right, I've been Dan. I was joined by Jank Engels.
That's me. Good night, America.
And I was joined by the True Horror.
Good night, everybody.
We love you. Don't